The human who broke every rule. The border of human space was usually quiet, almost peaceful, like a lonely road between two distant towns. Jake Morrison sat inside his small fighter, staring out at the cold stars. His cockpit lights glowed softly, reflecting on his tired face. He had been on patrol for hours, and nothing had changed, just darkness, silence, and the hum of his engines. Jake didn't mind patrol duty. In fact, he preferred it. It gave him time to think, and thinking was something he did too much. Every time his eyes drifted to the stars, he remembered his sister, Amy. 8 years had passed, but her face still came to him like a shadow that wouldn't leave. She had drowned while he stood too far away to help. That moment had carved itself deep inside him. From that day, he promised he would never ignore someone in danger again. A sharp beep suddenly broke the quiet. Jake sat up straight. Radar contact. Multiple signatures. Fast. Very fast. His hand moved to the controls instantly. "Commander Hayes," Jake said into his radio, "I've got movement. Unknown ships incoming." "I see them, Morrison," Hayes replied. Her voice was calm but tight. "Alpha Squad. Everyone form up. Stay alert. Don't." Jake pushed his throttle, and his fighter shot forward. One by one, the other human fighters joined him, creating a tight formation. They hung there in space, engines humming, waiting for the unknown to appear. And then 3 ships burst out of the darkness. They were not human ships. Their surfaces were smooth, curved like flowing water, glowing softly under the stars. They looked elegant, expensive, royal. 2 smaller escort ships guarded the large one in the center. Jake's heart thumped. "Vorathian ships," Commander Hayes said. "Royal design." Before Jake could respond, more ships appeared, 9 dark fighters rushing in behind the royal vessels. Their weapons fired bright orange streams of energy, ripping through the void. Jake watched in disbelief as the large royal ship shook under heavy fire. One escort ship didn't survive even 10 seconds. It exploded into a violent, burning ball that vanished into space dust. "Commander, they're running for their lives," Jake whispered. The second escort struggled to fight, but it was hopeless. The enemy had numbers, the enemy had speed, the enemy wanted blood. "Alpha Squad," Hayes said. "We are not part of this conflict. We fall back now." Jake felt a cold wave move through his chest. Fall back? Watch them die? The Vorathian royal ship took another hit. Its shield flickered weakly. The second escort caught fire and began spinning out of control. Someone inside that royal ship was important and about to die. Jake swallowed hard. His fingers tightened on the controls. His sister's face flashed in his mind, her hand reaching, her body sinking. He remembered standing still, too slow, too confused, too late. "Morrison, do you copy?" Hayes snapped. "Fall back. That is a direct order." He looked at the flashing radar. The 9 enemy ships were ready to deliver the final blow. He could hear his heartbeat. He could hear his sister's voice. He could hear the silent question inside him. "Will you let it happen again?" Jake closed his eyes for half a second. Then he spoke. "Sorry, Commander, I can't do that." Before Hayes could shout, Jake slammed his throttle forward. His engine roared. His fighter broke formation and shot straight at the enemy line. "Morrison, get back here." "That's an order." "Okay." He turned off his radio. Now the only sounds were his engine and his own breathing. The enemy fighters noticed him immediately. 3 of them broke off and headed straight toward him. Jake didn't slow down. His eyes sharpened. Everything inside him became focused, calm, ready. He fired first. Blue plasma bolts streaked across space and smashed into the nearest enemy fighter. It spun away, smoking. Jake rolled left, dodging orange blasts that passed inches from his cockpit. The heat was so close, he felt it through the glass. He looped around, firing again. Another enemy ship exploded, but that was it. Now all 9 enemy fighters saw him. All 9 turned away from the royal ship and straight toward him. Jake smiled faintly. "Good," he whispered. "Come for me." If they chased him, the Queen would survive. Inside the royal Vorathian vessel, Queen Lisara stood tall despite the shaking ship. Her silver scales glowed in the emergency lights. She watched the lone human fighter dance through enemy fire like a blue flame. Her advisor stared in disbelief. "What is that pilot doing?" "That is suicide." Lisara's voice was soft. "No, he is saving us." But Jake's ship was taking too much damage. Smoke filled the cockpit. Warning lights flashed red across the panel. His engines sparked, struggling. Still, he kept going. Still, he fought alone. Still, he refused to fall back. Because this time, no one would die while he watched. The Queen who should have died. Smoke curled inside Jake Morrison's damaged cockpit, stinging his eyes and making every breath sharp. Warning alarms flashed red across his vision, but he refused to slow down. 9 enemy fighters were chasing him now, exactly what he wanted. If they followed him, the royal ship would have a chance to survive. But his own survival? That was a different story. He dodged another burst of fire, the orange beam passing close enough to heat the cockpit glass. His fighter shook violently. Inside the Royal Varathian vessel, Queen Lisara clutched the armrests of her command chair. The emergency lights washed her silver scales in cold blue. Every second, the entire ship trembled under enemy fire. "Shields at 3%, my queen," the pilot shouted. "We cannot keep taking hits." Lisara's hearts pounded, but her voice stayed steady. "What about the jump drive?" "Still charging, Your Majesty. We need 40 more seconds." 40 seconds. They would not live that long. And then she saw him again. Through the main viewport, the lone human fighter moved across the stars like fire dancing in the wind. It spun, rolled, accelerated, and dove in ways no Varathian ship could. The human pilot was pushing the machine far past its limits. Her advisor whispered, "Why would a human risk everything for us? Our two species barely trust each other." Lisara didn't answer. She was watching the human too closely. Not because of his skills, but because she recognized something she had not seen in years. Courage without calculation. The kind of courage that had made ancient Varathian heroes legendary before her empire grew cold and political. Jake's ship suddenly took a direct hit. Lisara gasped softly as flames burst from his left engine. Jake gritted his teeth. His whole cockpit shook like a metal box thrown down a mountain. That hit had crippled him. He knew it. His ship knew it. The universe knew it. But he still wasn't done. Another enemy locked onto him. Jake jerked his controls, diving under one fighter, rolling over another, firing two quick shots. Blue plasma struck an enemy wing, sending it spinning. But this time, the enemy didn't break formation. They were smarter. They were tracking him from all sides. Inside Jake's ship, a red message flashed. Engine failure imminent. He ignored it. He focused on one thought. Just a little more time. Give them time. Back on the royal ship, the pilot shouted in fear. "My queen! The human vessel, its engines are failing." Lisara rose to her feet. "Track him." "We already are," her advisor said. "His trajectory is unpredictable." Lisara narrowed her eyes. No, it wasn't unpredictable. It was desperate. Jake's ship jerked violently as the right engine coughed out a burst of smoke. Inside the cockpit, the temperature rose. Sparks showered the floor. His target systems flickered in and out. Every second felt like a countdown to death. But he still fought, even without proper aim, even with a dying engine, even with the enemy closing around him like wolves. Then his entire ship shook hard. A bright flash filled his view. One of the enemy fighters had landed a direct strike on his engine core. Jake's fighter lost control. The nose dipped downward. The cockpit spun. Stars became long streaks of light. Jake slammed his hand onto emergency stabilizers, but they didn't respond. The ship was finished. Inside the Varathian royal vessel, an officer cried out, "Human fighter is spiraling. He's going to crash." Lisara stepped forward until she stood at the very edge of the viewing platform. Her glowing purple eyes followed the falling human fighter. Her pilot shouted, "Your Majesty, we must escape." Lisara didn't move. She watched Jake's burning fighter, as if the universe had stopped. "Morrison," Jake whispered to himself. "Come on, pull up, pull up." But the fighter would not answer him. A final explosion came from the engine, and the ship dropped like a stone through empty space, straight toward the Queen's docking bay. The Varathian crew yelled in panic. "He's coming in too fast. He will destroy the bay. Impact in 3 seconds." Lisara whispered, one word under her breath. "Hold." Jake saw the surface of the alien vessel rushing toward him. He lifted his arms, protecting his face out of instinct. The hull filled his vision. Everything turned white. Then, crash. The human fighter slammed into the docking bay, metal screeching, sparks flying everywhere. Emergency barriers sealed the area instantly, holding in the atmosphere. Inside the bay, Varathian guards pointed weapons at the burning wreck. The fighter was a twisted frame of metal now, prepared to neutralize. A guard shouted. "No," Lisara said from behind them as she entered the bay. Her voice echoed like cold thunder. "Lower your weapons." "But my queen, he saved us. Not one blade will rise against him." The guards obeyed, though their eyes were full of confusion and fear. Smoke drifted around the destroyed fighter. A quiet groan sounded inside. Jake Morrison was still alive. Barely. Lisara stepped closer, her eyes softening. "This human," she whispered, "was willing to die for us. Why?" Before anyone could answer, an alarm sounded across the ship. The pilot's voice announced over intercom, "Enemy warship approaching. They found us. Ready and to stem." Lisara turned sharply. The enemy commander himself was coming, and this time, he knew she had nowhere left to run. The human who fell from the stars, Smoke lingered inside the Vorathian docking bay like a heavy fog. Sparks flickered from the crushed human fighter, its metal frame twisted and broken, its wings bent like paper. Alarms blared across the ship as engineers rushed around, trying to stabilize damaged systems. Queen Lisara stood still in the center of the chaos. She didn't look at the fire. She didn't look at the broken walls. She didn't look at the panicking crew. Her glowing purple eyes were fixed on only one thing: the human pilot who had crashed into her ship like a fallen star. The guard slowly approached the wreck, weapons raised again. "Lower your blades," Lisara repeated, her voice calm but cold as steel. "But my queen," the lead guard insisted. "The human could be dangerous. He is unknown. His species. He saved your queen when 9 assassins tried to kill me." Lisara interrupted. "Do you call that danger? Or honor?" The guard lowered his head in shame and signaled his men to step back. 2 engineers hurried forward, cutting through the wreck with glowing red plasma tools. The hull fell open with a loud crack, revealing the cockpit inside filled with smoke, shattered glass, and the limp body of Jake Morrison. His helmet was cracked. Blood trickled from his forehead. His breathing was shallow, almost non-existent. One engineer whispered, "I didn't know humans could endure this much damage." Another replied quietly, "I didn't know they would endure it for us." Lisara stepped forward. "Bring him out." Carefully, the engineers lifted Jake from the cockpit. For a moment, his body hung between them like a broken puppet. Lisara watched every detail: his burnt suit, his trembling fingers, the black soot on his cheeks. Something inside her chest tightened. "He fought alone," she whispered. "Against 9. A soft voice spoke behind her. It was Elder Taver, her most trusted advisor for 20 years. "My queen, you should not show this much interest in an outsider." Lisara's eyes remained fixed on Jake. "He is not an outsider," she said softly. "He is the reason we are still alive." Before Taver could respond, another alarm echoed through the ship. "Whoop! Whoop! Whoop!" The voice of the pilot came across the intercom, filled with panic. "Enemy warship approaching. Identified as Vorathian design class, Blood Serpent. It belongs to Prince Varrock." Gasps spread through the bay. "Prince Varrock, Lisara's cousin, the one trying to kill her." Taver's face hardened. "He has found us, my queen, and he will not hesitate to finish what he started." Lisara nodded slowly. She turned to the medics. "Take the human to the healing chamber. Use full support. Do not let him die." "Yes, Your Majesty." As they rushed Jake away on an anti-gravity stretcher, Lisara followed with quick steps. Inside the healing chamber, the chamber glowed with soft green light, filled with floating medical drones. Jake was placed inside a cylindrical pod, thin wires connected to his chest, arms, and temples. The drones scanned his body and projected a hologram above him. Taver frowned at the hologram. "His bones, so fragile. His heart rate is unstable. He will not survive without heavy intervention." Lisara looked at the projection in silence. Human bodies were weak compared to Vorathians. They had 1 heart instead of 3. They had no natural armor, no energy field organs, no regenerative glands. And yet, this weak species had produced a pilot who challenged 9 assassins alone. Lisara stepped closer to the pod. "Can he hear us?" she asked softly. "Unlikely," the medic replied. "He is deep in unconscious state. His body is fighting to stay alive." Jake's hand twitched. Lisara's eyes widened. Even unconscious, he was still fighting. She leaned down, her silver scales shimmering beside the pod. "You risked your life for someone you never met," she whispered to him. "Why?" Jake didn't answer. He couldn't. But his breathing steadied for a moment, as if a piece of him knew she was there. Before Lisara could say more, the ship shook violently. Boom! The lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. A second explosion followed. Boom! Boom! Taver grabbed a rail to steady himself. "Varrock has begun firing. He is testing our shields." The pilot's voice came through the speaker again. "Shields at 20%, Your Majesty. We cannot take more hits." Lisara stood straight, her expression sharp and fearless. "Prepare the command bridge," she ordered. "I will speak to Varrock myself." Taver looked at her with worry. "My queen, you must think of survival. Your life is more important than truth," she said quietly. "Than justice? Than my people?" Taver lowered his head. He knew she was right. As the guards prepared an escort to the bridge, Lisara looked back at Jake one last time. The human lay motionless, barely breathing. But she saw something in him that she had not seen in any Vorathian warlord, general, or counselor. A soul that refused to break. She whispered, almost to herself, "Stay alive, human. I still need your courage." Then she turned and walked out. On the bridge, the enemy warship filled the entire screen, massive, armored, glowing with blood-red lights. A face appeared on the main display. Prince Varak. His eyes were sharp, his scales darker than Lisara's, and his smile cold enough to freeze a star. Cousin, Varak said, you survived longer than I expected. Lisara glared at him. You attacked royal vessels. You murdered my escorts. Varak shrugged. And yet, I missed the most important target. Lisara's crew stiffened. Varak leaned forward, his voice dripping with venom. Surrender yourself, Lisara. End this now. Your empire needs a ruler who is not weak, like you. Lisara raised her chin. Never. Varak's smile widened. Very well then. Prepare to die. He raised his hand, and his weapons began charging for a final strike. But Lisara whispered something no one else heard. If the human wakes, everything will change. The prince who wanted the throne of fire. The Vorathian royal bridge fell silent as Prince Varak's colossal warship hovered before them like a black mountain in space. Crimson lights pulsed along its surface, glowing like veins filled with fire. The ship's weapons hummed, building deadly energy. Prince Varak's face remained on the central screen cold, triumphant, hungry for power. Lisara, he said with a slow smile, your escape ends now. Queen Lisara stood tall, her silver scales reflecting the sparks of damaged lights around her. She showed no fear, only determination. You broke every law of our empire, she said. You killed my escorts. You fired upon the crown vessel. You betrayed your own blood. Varak laughed, a sharp, cruel sound. I did what had to be done. Our people need strength, not your peaceful nonsense. They need a ruler who conquers, one who isn't afraid to burn a few planets to get what he wants. Lisara's eyes narrowed. You call murder strength? I call it destiny, Varak replied. Now step down, or be destroyed. The crew looked at their queen, waiting for her command. But Lisara looked calm. Too calm. Tavor whispered beside her. My queen, the shields will not survive another direct hit. Then we will not let them hit us, Lisara said. Varak leaned forward. And how exactly will you stop me? Cousin, your ship is damaged. Your crew is scared. You have no escorts left. A small smile formed on Lisara's lips. You are wrong, she said quietly. I have one fighter left. Varak frowned. Impossible. I destroyed all of. Lisara cut him off. Human fighter. Varak's expression froze. Human? The bridge crew exchanged confused looks. Humans had no presence in Vorathian royal politics. They were new to the galaxy, young, unimportant, or so most believed. Varak scoffed loudly. You expect me to fear a fragile little mammal inside a broken metal box? No, Lisara said calmly. I expect you to fear what humans are capable of when they decide to protect someone. For the first time, Varak's smile faded. Meanwhile, in the healing chamber, Jake floated inside the healing pod, surrounded by green light. Medical drones worked frantically to repair his damaged body. His heart rate rose and fell. His breathing came in weak, uneven patterns. Inside his mind, everything was fog. He heard distant voices, Vorathian voices echoing like whispers in a storm. Unstable. Heartbeat failing. His oxygen levels. Then another voice. Clear. Calm. Strong. Lisara's voice. Stay alive. Human. I still need your courage. Jake didn't understand the words completely, but something inside him reacted. A spark. A pulse. A memory. Amy. He remembered standing on the edge of the lake. He remembered running too late. He remembered her hand disappearing under the water. His breath hitched. No. Not again. His fingers twitched inside the healing pod. The drones beeped in surprise. Back on the bridge, Varak straightened himself, regaining confidence. You speak of human courage as if it matters, he said. Let me show you what true power looks like. He raised his hand. His warship's massive cannons glowed brighter. Fire. The bridge shook violently as Varak's ship unleashed a torrent of blazing energy. The attack struck the royal vessel with terrifying force. Metal groaned. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Shields collapsed instantly. Direct hit, the pilot shouted. Shields down. Varak appeared satisfied. Still alive, Lisara. I must be losing my touch. Lisara ignored him. Tavor, she said quietly. Prepare the emergency ion drive. Tavor's eyes widened. My queen, it is unstable. It was never tested. Neither was the human, she replied. But he fought 9 ships alone. Tavor swallowed hard and nodded. Yes, my queen. Varak leaned closer to the screen. What nonsense are you planning now? Lisara's voice was cold as ice. A path you will never follow. The ship shook again, this time from internal energy building in the engines. Varak's eyes widened. You're activating the ion storm drive? Are you insane? That storm will tear your ship apart. Lisara stared at him, without blinking. But it will also blind your scanners. Varrock slammed his fist against his console. Turn that drive off, Lisara. I command you. You command no one, she said softly. Varrock roared in anger. If you enter that storm, you will die. Lisara's voice dropped to a whisper. Not if the human wakes. Inside Jake's mind, Jake's heartbeat slowed dangerously. Alarms echoed across the medical chamber, but the drones could not reach deep enough. Jake's memories flashed rapidly: his sister, the battlefield, the Queen's eyes, watching him, her voice saying, he mattered. His mind screamed one thing: get up. His body refused. Again, get up. His heart thumped, weak but stubborn. One more time. Get up, Jake. She needs you. Jake's fingers curled. His eyes opened slowly, painfully. The healing pod's sensors exploded with alerts. He's waking up, a medic shouted. The human is responding. On the bridge, final moments of Part Arba, the ship began entering the ion storm. Lightning like energy arcs crackled outside the windows. The storm twisted space into bright spirals of blue and white. The crew held their breath. Varrock's voice boomed across the screen. You cannot escape. I will burn your ship to ash. Lisara turned away from him and spoke softly to her crew. Hold steady. Trust in the human. Tavor stared at her. My queen. He is unconscious. He cannot fly. Lisara's eyes glowed brighter. He will. The storm swallowed their ship. Lightning filled the windows. Systems flickered. Emergency lights flashed red as the engines roared. A single door burst open behind them. The crew spun around. Jake Morrison stood in the doorway. Bruised. Weak. Barely alive. But standing. His voice was rough, shaking, but determined. Queen Lisara, tell me what you need. Lisara exhaled slowly. We need a miracle. Jake nodded once. Then, let's make one. The last stand of one human. The bridge fell into stunned silence as Jake Morrison stepped forward, swaying slightly, one hand gripping the wall for support. His face was pale, marked with burns and cuts. His breathing was rough. He looked like a man who should still be in a hospital bed, yet something fierce burned behind his eyes. Queen Lisara stared at him with surprise. Then something deeper. Respect. You should not be standing, Tavor whispered. Jake wiped blood from his forehead. I didn't die, he said softly. So that means I'm not finished yet. Outside the ship, violent arcs of ion lightning crackled through space. The storm roared like a living beast, twisting gravity and shredding the fabric of the void. No normal pilot could fly through this. No Varathian navigator could read the storm's chaotic paths. But Jake looked at the swirling energy like it was just another battlefield. What's happening? He asked. Lisara stepped closer. Varrock is preparing to strike again. He wants me dead, and the storm will not protect us for long. Jake nodded. Then we don't wait for him, we move. Tavor shook his head. Move? You do not understand. Our ship cannot be piloted manually through this storm. The controls will not respond to alien touch, let alone a human. Jake looked at the control station. Then show me. Tavor hesitated. Lisara's eyes met his. Trust him, she said. Slowly. Tavor led Jake to the pilot's seat. The control platform rose, glowing with blue runes. Varathian interfaces were made for four-armed pilots with telepathic feedback organs. A human was not supposed to even touch this. Jake placed his hands on the glowing surface. The lights changed instantly. They shifted from Varathian blue to a bright white responding to him. The entire crew gasped. Lisara whispered. Impossible. Tavor stepped back. The controls. They like him. Jake smiled weakly. Good, because we don't have time. Varrock's attack builds. On the main screen, Prince Varrock's warship loomed larger. Its cannons glowed red, building enough energy to vaporize half a moon. Varrock leaned forward, smirking as he saw Jake at the controls. A human pilot? Varrock said. How adorable. You bring pets to war now, Lisara. Jake ignored him. He analyzed the storm, reading its unpredictable patterns the way he once read battlefield trajectories. He wasn't fighting the storm. He was listening to it. Queen Lisara, Jake said. I can get us close enough to blind Varrock's sensors, but I need full engine power. Tavor objected instantly. Full power? That will overload the ship and tear the hull apart. Jake nodded. If we don't, we won't reach his blind spot. And if we don't reach his blind spot, Varrock kills us. Lisara placed a hand on Tavor's shoulder. Give him the power. Reluctantly, Tavor obeyed. The storm flight begins. Jake gripped the controls. Hold on, he warned. The ship jolted violently as he forced it into a sharp dive through the storm. Ion lightning flashed inches from the windows. Gravity twisted and snapped. Crew members grabbed rails as sparks erupted from the ceiling. We're losing stability. the pilot shouted. Then hold tighter, Jake barked, pushing the ship deeper into the chaos. Lisara watched him, his focus, his control, the calm intensity in his movements. She had seen many warriors, many pilots, many leaders, but none like this fragile human who flew like he had nothing left to lose. A violent tremor ripped through the hull. The medic cried out. We cannot take much more of this. Jake ignored the fear around him. He saw a narrow, twisting tunnel inside the storm, an opening only a human mind could track fast enough. There, he whispered. We go there. He turned the ship sharply. The crew screamed. The ship dove into a spinning vortex of lightning. Varric loses sight. Inside the enemy warship, Varric stared at his sensors in disbelief. What? Where are they? His officer checked again, confusion in his voice. My prince. They disappeared inside the ion currents. Our scanners cannot follow. Varric slammed his fist into the console. That human. He is leading their ship. Find them. But the storm swallowed every trace. For the first time, Varric felt fear. Jake's plan. Inside the royal vessel, Jake's hands moved like lightning, adjusting controls, diverting power, and guiding the ship through impossible paths. We're close to his blind spot, Jake said. Taver checked the readings. If we go any deeper, the storm will kill us. Jake took a breath. It won't. He wasn't sure, but he couldn't show doubt. Not now, not in front of the Queen, who believed in him. Jake, Lisara said softly, if we do not survive this, know that my people will remember your courage for generations. Jake gave a small smile. Let's make sure we survive so they can hear the whole story. Then his expression hardened. Charge the EMP core. Taver froze. EMP? That will disable both our ships. Exactly, Jake said. But Varric's ship is bigger. He will shut down longer. We only need 6 seconds to escape. Lisara nodded without hesitation. Do it. Tavor swallowed but obeyed. The EMP blast. The storm crackled around them as Jake reached the center of the vortex. EMP ready, Tavor said. Jake whispered, for my sister. He slammed his hand onto the trigger. A massive blast of blue-white light exploded outward. A storm, inside a storm. The shockwave hit Varric's warship first. Inside his bridge, lights went dead. Engines died. Screens shattered. The entire vessel went dark. Varric roared in rage as alarms blared. Systems offline. Total shutdown. But the blast hit Jake's ship too. Lights flickered. Power drained. Engines sputtered. Jake tried to steady himself, but the blackout was too strong. The ship fell silent. Jake exhaled once. And collapsed. His body hit the floor with a heavy sound. Lisara rushed to him. Jake, stay awake. He didn't respond. His chest rose faintly. Then slower. Then slower. The medics rushed forward. Panic in their voices. He's going into cardiac failure. Lisara knelt beside him, hands trembling. Human, do not leave now. Not now. But Jake's eyes did not open. His breathing stopped. The monitors flatlined. Tavor whispered. Horrified. My queen, the human is gone. Lisara stared at his still face, tears glowing in her purple eyes. No, she whispered. Not yet. She touched his chest. Not this human. The queen who chose a human. For a long moment, the bridge was frozen in absolute silence. Jake Morrison lay motionless on the cold metallic floor, his chest still, his pulse gone. The healing pod's drones flickered with red warnings. The crew Vorathian warriors trained never to show fear looked shaken, shocked, even afraid. Because the human who had saved them all had just died before their eyes. Queen Lisara knelt beside him, her silver scales dimmed. Her hands shook as she touched the human's cheek. It felt cold, too cold. Tavor bowed his head. My queen, I am sorry. He gave everything. Lisara did not move, did not blink. To everyone's surprise, a single tear slid down her cheek, glowing softly like liquid starlight. No, she whispered. He gave everything, and I will give something back. The crew exchanged confused looks. What do you mean, Your Majesty? Tavor asked carefully. Lisara rose to her feet. Her eyes burned with a strange, ancient determination. There is one ritual, she said. A forbidden ritual. One only the monarch may perform. A ritual of life-giving. Tavor's eyes widened in horror. My queen, you cannot. That ritual links your life to his. If he dies again, you will die with him. Lisara looked down at Jake. That is a risk I accept. The forbidden ritual. The queen extended all 4 arms. The scales along her skin glowed brighter and brighter until her whole body shimmered like a living star. She placed 2 hands on Jake's forehead and 2 over his heart. The crew gasped as a beam of silver light began to flow from her chest into his. Taver tried to step forward. "My queen, please. Do not interfere," she said. Her voice echoed with power. The light grew stronger. The temperature rose. Sparks floated in the air. Jake's chest lifted slightly, but still he did not breathe. Lisara closed her eyes tightly. "Do not fade, human. I am not done with you. You do not get to leave yet." The energy around them swirled like a small galaxy. His fingers twitched. His heart monitor flickered. Another pulse. Another. Then, ba-bump, the monitor beeped once. The medics gasped. Pulse detected. Lisara's glow faded. Her legs trembled. She almost fell, but Taver caught her. "Your Majesty, are you hurt?" Lisara shook her head weakly. "No, but part of my life now lives in him." Jake's eyes fluttered open. He sucked in a deep breath, his first breath back from the edge of death. He blinked, confused, dizzy, but alive. What happened?" he whispered. Lisara knelt again, smiling softly through exhaustion. "You returned," she said. "That is enough." Jake stared at her for a long moment. "I heard your voice, in the dark." "That was no dream," she answered quietly. Varak's downfall. Before the crew could celebrate, the ship shuddered. Taver ran to the console. "Varak's ship is attempting reboot. They will regain weapons soon." Lisara stood, regaining her strength through sheer will. "Jake," she said, turning to him. "Can you still fly?" Jake wiped sweat and blood from his face, looked at the cracked bridge window showing the massive enemy warship, and nodded. "I'm breathing again," he said. "So yes, I can fly." Lisara gestured toward the auxiliary control station. "Then finish what you started, end Varak's reign of terror." Jake took his place at the controls. Even injured, he moved with purpose. His fingers glided over Varathian symbols like he had used them for years. The royal crew stared at him. A human using alien controls. Like he was born to do it, one whispered. "Perhaps he was," Lisara said. She took her throne, though her body still trembled, and addressed her people. "Prepare weapons. Target Varak's engines." Taver's eyes hardened. "For assassination or capture." "For justice," Lisara replied. Jake maneuvered the royal ship out of the storm's vortex. The moment they cleared the swirling ion clouds, Varak's warship came into view completely powerless and drifting. Jake didn't hesitate. Firing now. A single blue beam shot from the Queen's vessel. It pierced Varak's engines, disabling the warship permanently. On Varak's bridge, chaos erupted. "No," Varak roared. "I am the rightful ruler. You cannot." But his screen flickered and went dark. His ship was dead. His rebellion was over. Lisara spoke calmly. "Varak, cousin, you sought the throne through fear. I reclaim it through courage. A new era begins." Hours later, in the glittering capital city of Vorkana, giant holoscreens showed Queen Lisara standing tall, addressing billions of citizens across her empire. "My people," she began. "Today your queen lives because of an outsider, a human." Murmurs spread through the vast crowd. Lisara continued. "He risked everything for someone he never met. He fought when others ran. He sacrificed when others hesitated. He is proof that honor does not belong to one species, but to all living hearts." At her signal, Jake stepped forward beside her. His wounds healed, his posture straight. The crowd gasped their queen had never shared a stage with an alien before. Lisara raised her hand. "For his courage, I bestow upon Jake Morrison the highest honor of our empire. From this day forward, he shall be known as the first human knight of Vorthia." A massive cheer erupted across the city, loud enough to shake the tower. Jake looked stunned. "A knight? Me?" Lisara smiled gently. "You earned far more than a title, Jake Morrison." Their eyes met for a long, quiet moment. Two worlds, two species, two lives forever connected. As the lights of Vorthia glowed beneath them, Jake looked up at the stars. He had once believed he was just a broken man, haunted by his past. But now? Now the galaxy knew a different truth. One human pilot changed the fate of an entire empire, and Queen Lisara would never forget the moment a fragile human stood between her and death and refused to fall.